ever think about uh, what it would have been like to actually like live in the 17th century?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of wild to imagine Europe just overflowing with art,
Right.
like a true picture world, you know?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're diving into with this deep dive.
It's amazing to think about
Yeah.
how much art was created during that period
Yeah.
and what it tells us,
I think-
about the culture and values back then.
Absolutely. And today we're going to try to untangle the stories of two figures from that era
Okay.
who are both connected to this like explosion of creativity,
Interesting.
even if they seem like worlds apart at first glance.
I see, yeah.
We're going to start with a modern-day comedian who's bringing a king back to life on the London stage,
Mhm.
and then we'll look at this Dutch painter whose legacy is this mix of brilliance and mystery.
Sounds fascinating. What I find so interesting is how both of these stories, even though they're centuries apart,
Right.
deal with this challenge of representing truth.
Yeah.
One does it through comedy and performance.
And the other through the art of painting.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So let's unpack that first story.
Okay.
Now, it might surprise you to learn that this all starts in a place known more for entertainment than history.
Okay.
London's West End.
Gotcha.
There's this new playmaking waves called Crown Jewels,
Mm-hmm.
and it's causing a bit of a stir with its comedic take on a real historical event, the attempted theft of the crown jewels, way back in 1671.
It's amazing how history can be brought to life in such unexpected ways.
I know.
Like using humor to get people interested in events that might otherwise seem irrelevant.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And at the heart of this whole thing is Al Murray, a comedian known for his sharp wit and, as it turns out, a
Yeah.
deep fascination with history.
Interesting.
He's taking on the role of King Charles II in the play.
Wow.
And what's really captivating is how he's bringing this complex, often contradictory
Right.
figure to life.
Well, you know, Charles II, the Merry Monarch, as he was called,
Right.
really embodies both the charm and the ruthlessness of that time.
Mm-hmm.
He was around for a time of huge change and upheaval in England.
Yeah.
You know, political intrigue, religious tension, even the plague.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He saw it all.
he did.
And yet he's also remembered for his love of the arts,
Oh,
his
yeah.
wit,
Yeah.
and this ability he had to really connect with people.
Totally.
It makes you wonder how Al Murray can balance all of those different sides of Charles II's personality on stage.
It's a tough task,
Yeah.
you know, to portray someone from history authentically. You
Yeah.
can't just stay on the surface.
Right.
You got to dig deeper and try to understand what motivated them,
Yeah.
what shaped their worldview.
Uh-huh.
In Charles II's case, you're talking about the grandeur of his reign,
Yeah.
but also the trauma
Yeah.
of seeing his father executed
Yeah.
and spending years in exile.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot to take in.
And that brings us to the heart of the play's comedic premise.
Oh, okay.
Colonel Thomas Blood's wild attempt to steal the crown jewels.
Wow.
Can you imagine the nerve of someone
Oh.
even trying to pull that off?
Well, it's a story that's intrigued historians forever.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
It's wild.
Blood's plan, the disguises, breaking into the Tower of London. It's like something out of a movie.
It really is. He dressed up as a priest,
Wow.
even had an actress pretending to be his wife.
I can't believe it.
And get this, he actually knocked out the 77-year-old jewel keeper.
No way.
Seriously.
That's crazy.
That's almost too crazy to be true.
Right. And yet it happened.
Yeah.
And get this.
Wow.
Even though he was caught red-handed, Blood was pardoned by Charles II.
Seriously.
Not only pardoned,
Bro.
but he was given a pension.
Wait, he was rewarded
Yes.
for trying to steal the crown jewels.
Exactly. I don't get it.
And that's the real mystery here.
Yeah. Historians have been debating Charles II's motives for centuries.
Uh-huh.
Was it a true act of mercy?
Yeah.
A smart political move?
Right.
Or maybe both?
I'm dying to know your take on this.
Okay.
What could possibly have been going through Charles II's mind?
Well, let's think about it. It really makes you think about power, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Like, was Charles II actually being forgiving?
Yeah.
Or was he playing some kind of game that we can't even understand?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
40 chess or something.
Totally.
Yeah.
So was it mercy or manipulation?
Well, if we think about Charles II's background
Okay.
and all the political stuff he had to deal with during his reign,
Yeah.
it's possible he saw this whole thing with blood as an opportunity.
Okay.
Like maybe he thought that by seeming merciful,
Right.
he could make himself look good
Yeah.
and maybe even mess with his opponents.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
So instead of a simple robbery, this becomes a story about image and control.
Exactly.
It's like blood accidentally created this chance for the king to exert his power
Right.
in this really subtle way.
It's complex, isn't it?
It is.
And that's what makes portraying historical figures so tricky.
Yeah.
It's not just about the facts. You have
Yeah.
to try to get into their head,
Yeah.
understand how they saw the world,
I see, yeah.
you know?
Okay, so speaking of seeing the world from a different perspective,
Okay.
let's switch gears a bit
Sure.
and dive into the world of Dutch Golden Age painting.
Okay.
I think you'll find this next story pretty interesting,
Okay.
especially since you're into art history.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the life and work of Karel Fabricius,
Oh, interesting.
a painter whose career was tragically cut short.
I see.
But even so, his impact on art history is huge.
Well, Fabricius is someone who often gets overlooked
Really?
compared to like Rembrandt and Vermeer.
Right.
But his work is really amazing.
Yeah.
He was known for his innovative use of light and perspective.
Okay.
And his techniques were groundbreaking for the time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And his most famous painting, The Goldfinch,
Right.
is a perfect example of his genius.
Oh, absolutely.
Have you ever seen it in person?
I have, and it's really captivating.
Yeah.
The way he paints the bird's feathers,
Yeah.
the light on the chain on its leg,
Uh-huh.
the way it looks right at you.
It's-
incredible.
I've only seen reproductions,
Okay.
but even those are amazing.
Oh, yeah.
There's this sense of beauty and sadness,
Right.
freedom and captivity,
Exactly.
all in this one small painting.
And that duality is key to understanding Fabricius's work.
Uh-huh.
For a long time, people assumed he didn't have many paintings because he died young,
Yeah.
at 32, in the Delft thunderclap explosion.
Right. That was the massive explosion that destroyed Delft back in 1654.
Yes.
Didn't a lot of his paintings get destroyed in that?
That was the common belief, yeah.
Yeah.
But actually, more recent research has shown that Fabricius didn't paint that much throughout his life,
Really?
even before the explosion,
So it wasn't just because of that.
right?
That's so surprising. So why didn't he paint more?
Well, this is where the story gets pretty sad.
Okay.
Fabricius experienced a lot of personal tragedy in his life.
Oh, no.
He lost his wife and several children,
Oh, I see.
all in a short period of time.
Wow.
Can you imagine the grief he must have felt?
It's hard to even imagine.
Yeah.
Do you think that grief shows up in his work?
It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
Especially in the goldfinch.
Okay.
The bird itself is chained to its perch. It can't fly away.
Right.
It stares right at you, almost
Mhm.
like it's asking for you to understand.
It's such a powerful image.
It is.
And it makes you wonder if Fabricius's own experiences.
Yeah. With loss and feeling trapped.
Right.
Found their way into his art.
Yeah. It's like he's trying to show resilience
Right.
in the face of terrible hardship.
And that connects back to what we were talking about earlier
Okay.
about the challenges of showing truth,
Right.
whether it's on stage
Mm.
or in a painting.
Yeah.
Both Al Murray playing Charles II and
Aye.
Karel Fabricius with his paintings,
Yeah.
they're both dealing with the complexities of being human.
They're trying to capture something essential about what it means to be alive.
Exactly.
Even though they're doing it in such different ways.
Right. And by doing that,
Yeah.
they're encouraging us to look deeper,
Hmm.
to think about the things that aren't said,
Right.
the stories that shape our lives.
It's a reminder that history isn't just dates and facts.
Right.
It's about real people
Yes.
who lived and loved and lost and created
Exactly.
in a world that wasn't always easy.
And art, in all its forms,
Yeah.
gives us a window into those lives.
It does.
It lets us connect with the past
Yeah.
in ways that are both intellectually stimulating and emotionally powerful.
That's a great way to put it. And, it's interesting that Fabricius and Murray,
Yeah.
even though they worked in such different ways and lived
Yeah.
centuries apart,
Yeah.
share this interest in capturing the present moment.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
It's true.
Fabricius, with his paintings, created this feeling of being right there in the scene.
Exactly. Like you're witnessing it as it happens.
And Murray, playing Charles II,
Yes.
must be trying to do the same thing on stage,
He probably is.
right? Like make the audience feel like they're part of these historical events.
Yeah. It's like they're both trying to freeze time
Right.
to capture a moment
Yeah.
and make us think about what it means.
It makes you wonder, if you could ask Fabricius to paint anything,
Yeah.
what moment would you choose?
That's a good question.
Like, what scene from your own life would you want him to paint?
That's something to think about.
Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it? What parts of our lives would we want to see in a painting?
It does.
What would that say about us?
Exactly. About what we value and what we've been through.
Right.
And what we hope for in the future.
It's a fascinating way to look at ourselves, and it shows how powerful art can be.
Totally.
To connect us with what truly matters.
Yeah, and thinking about Fabricius's life and his work, especially the goldfinch,
Right.
it makes me realize that beauty and resilience can come from even the worst tragedy.
That's true.
It feels like a really important message today, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
The world can feel so chaotic and uncertain.
Right.
But art shows us that even in the middle of all that, there's always hope.
Yeah.
Always a chance to find meaning and connection.
I agree.
And sometimes those connections come from the most unexpected places.
That's for sure.
We started talking about a comedian playing a king.
Yeah.
And ended up exploring this painter whose work still speaks to people today.
It's amazing.
It's amazing how these seemingly random things come together.
It really is, and it shows how connected everything is. History, art, the human experience.
It's like we might be separated by time and circumstance.
But there's something that ties us all together.
This need to understand ourselves
Right.
and the world around us.
Exactly.
Well said.
Thank you.
If this deep dive piqued your interest in Al Murray's Crown Jewels or Carol Fabricius's The Goldfinch, I definitely encourage you to check them out.
I second that.
You can see the play on tour.
Right.
Or if you're ever in The Hague,
Okay.
make sure to visit the Mauritshuis Museum to see the goldfinch in person.
It's worth the trip.
You won't be disappointed.
And who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to find other hidden treasures.
Right?
Stories just waiting to be discovered and told.
Absolutely. There's a whole world out there to explore, and we hope you'll join us for the next deep dive as we continue to uncover these amazing stories. Thanks for listening.